Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Thank you so much for joining me on the streams whenever you can. We've got so much to get to today. There's just been so much news that has come out about this meta nonsense, and I wanted to give you my take on it. The Mark Zuckerberg making big changes to Facebook, and then he credits here in this video that I'm going to get to Trump's re-election to bringing back free speech. He says that there's a cultural shift, and Trump's re-election shows that the people actually want free speech. No, Mark Zuckerberg. The people have always wanted free speech. You just ignored that, and now that Donald Trump has been elected by the people, you're scared, and you are kissing butt because you don't want to go to jail for censoring Americans, and you don't want people taking a closer look at what you're doing over there at Facebook. So, a lot of people have been like, oh yeah, this is a celebration, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not celebrating because I see exactly what this is. This is clearly just people at Facebook freaking out that Donald Trump is going to take a closer look at what they've been doing at this platform. And they're supposed to be a platform, and they want to avoid regulation. They want to avoid changes to Section 230. And that's what this is all about. Okay, make no mistake, Mark Zuckerberg could give, he does not care about your free speech. He never has. Otherwise, he would have allowed the platform to be a free speech platform. Being somebody that's been censored on Facebook a lot, I can tell you that Mark Zuckerberg does not care about free speech. We're going to get to that, plus Meta appointing a Trump supporter, Dana White, to the board of directors. I'm not really impressed by that. Dana White is sort of like an apolitical guy. He's a Trump supporter, but he's apolitical, and I like Dana White, but he's one of these like Joe Rogan types where, he's into UFC and everything like that, and that's where his lane is, and that's where his expertise is. So when he dips his toe into the political waters, I don't really care. He is also done a partnership with the Bud Light, right? So this tells me that anytime, something woke wants to correct itself, whether in Mark Zuckerberg's case, it's to avoid regulation to the platform, or in Bud Light's case, they're bleeding and they're not making any profits, Dana White is always there to pick up the pieces. Not that I don't like Dana White, but it seems to be a trend, and it's because he's an apolitical type, and I think he more socially aligns with the Mark Zuckerbergs, with the people at Bud Light. I think he more socially aligns with them. They're not true conservatives. They don't subscribe to an ideology. They're supporters of Donald Trump, Dana White, Joe Rogan, but they're not like you and I, who are actually conservatives. And, whether it's Donald Trump or somebody else, we're not Trump. We are Trump supporters, but our allegiance isn't to Donald Trump. Our allegiance is to our conservative ideology and the way we think society ought to go. And I always say this: at first and foremost, I'm a Christian. Second, I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian conservative in that order. And these guys, they don't have that conservative ideology. That's just not who they are. Dana White, Joe Rogans. They might like Donald Trump. They might support Donald Trump, and that's awesome. But be careful of people who are celebrating this. This is not anything to celebrate. I doubt that they're even going to make these changes. If they do, this is a big if. And even if they are making those changes, I know what the intention is here. It's because you don't want to be regulated under a Republican majority House, a Republican majority Senate, and Donald Trump, the Republican president. They're going to take a closer look at platforms and how they censored Americans, and they're going to put some regulations on you. If you want to act like a publisher, then go ahead, be a publisher, but we're going to craft the law to reflect that. You are a platform. You're not supposed to be censoring people. All right, we're going to get to all of it. I also want to get to McDonald's. They're the latest company to ditch the DEI crap. and I am loving it. They're ditching DEI quotas, so they're not going to try to, hire based on somebody's skin color and insignificant birth traits or your bedroom preferences, which, same thing. File this under, you should have been doing this, so I'm not going to applaud you for doing it now. The fact that you were hiring DEI quotas or trying to meet these quotas, that's highly illegal. It's called equality, and it's called not discriminating against people. And you should have been doing that at McDonald's a long, long time ago. And to pretend now, that's what really bothers me, to pretend now that, we're going to ditch the DEI stuff because we're such a great company. No. We're going to ditch the censorship because we're just, making these big changes and we want to bring back free speech. No. Let's be honest here. You're ditching all of this stuff. You're ditching the censorship. You're ditching the DEI quotas because Donald Trump is in and you want to kiss butt. And I don't like butt kissers. I'm sorry. So my original plan this morning was to give you my take on Dana White's appointment to the Meta Board of Directors, which could mean that, yes, Facebook becomes a little bit more conservative friendly. But it also could mean that it doesn't. They could just, make it a free speech. Dana White is pro-free speech. He's not a conservative. If you want my opinion, I think that we're so far gone. We've gone so far to the left on these platforms, and the left has had such a voice for such a long period of time. The only solution would be to promote conservative content over leftist content for a period of time and to even the scales. That's my take on it, because you have demonetized people, you have robbed them of their means, their way of making a living, and that needs to be reconciled before we move forward. So you should be promoting conservative platforms over the leftist platforms in order to even the scales. That's where I'm at with this. Mark Zuckerberg, he dropped this video saying that he's going to be undoing everything that his company has done to censor opinions, specifically conservative opinions have been censored, but he didn't come out and really say that. I'll let you take a listen to him. I'll let him tell you what he's doing over at Facebook. Take a listen.
Hey, everyone.
If we can get this on. Here we go.
I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
All right. I think you get the sentiment. There's a few more things that they're going to be implementing. But can anybody say butt kisser? Okay. And this quote is key from that clip that you just heard. The recent elections also feels like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. It shouldn't matter election to election. We should always prioritize free speech, and you should never censor Americans or never censor anybody, right? And he says this, he says, so we're getting back to our roots and focusing on reducing our mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. So what does this mean? Keep in mind, all of this is, we'll see, if true, maybe they actually address some of the stuff on their platform and they stop censoring people. They're replacing fact checking, like he said there, with community notes styled after X. They could have done this months ago, years ago. Okay. They should have never implemented something called fact checking from the legacy media. And they did not act in good faith because there were several people who were me years ago talking about how they were censoring people for saying things like the vaccine is an mRNA shot. It's not actually a vaccine. They're changing the definition of vaccine to make it fit. Masks don't work. All of that was censored and throttled on social media, and they did not act in good faith because there was plenty of information out there that aligned with those sentiments on social media. There was plenty of studies done that showed that masks didn't work to stop respiratory viruses, stop you or prevent you from getting respiratory viruses. So the fact checkers were always politically biased. It's not that they've become politically biased. They were always politically biased. Okay. And we've seen this during the entirety of the Biden administration. They didn't say that Joe Biden, like, I remember getting thrown off Facebook. I was in Facebook jail for 30 plus days because I shared a meme about Hunter Biden, and it was an actual photo of him. He was naked. It's like, I think he's in a diaper or something. And I shared a photo of it and I said, this is what's on the Hunter Biden laptop. I was kicked out off of Facebook. For 30 plus days. He wasn't naked. He was clothed-ish, like he was all covered and everything. So it wasn't like against nudity policy. But I was kicked off Facebook for several days after sharing that meme about Hunter Biden. So you couldn't say anything bad about Hunter Biden. And they were always politically biased. The Biden administration, under the Biden administration, they were always politically biased. So it's not that they became more biased, or it's not that Facebook acted in good faith regarding the claims of disinformation. No. They were arbiters of the truth, and they censored people for having opinions that they didn't approve of. So Zuck says he's going to simplify content policies and take a new approach with policy enforcement. So like I said, if true, we'll see. I don't know if this is actually going to happen. I'm very skeptical as if it's even going to happen. Okay. What's key here is they are actually going to be moving Meta's content moderation teams out of California, and they're going to be moving to Texas. And of course, by Texas, I mean Austin, Texas. So, I mean, but it is better than the blue-haired socialist wackadoodles that are probably being hired out of California. So maybe we see, these content moderation teams pull back a little bit, but they're still going to be leftists, likely. And here's what I really think is going on. I really think that this is all about butt kissing, and I think that this is about avoiding social media regulations and regulations to things like Section 230. That's what I really think is going on. The most interesting thing here that he talks about in the video is that they're going to bring back civic content, so discourse, aka political and cultural content. They're going to allow both sides to be shared on this platform. Like I said, it always should have been that way. And the company throttled almost all political and cultural posts about immigration, about gender. they heavily, as the two issues mentioned, they heavily moderated content, conservative content about gender issues and about immigration issues. So according to Mark Zuckerberg, the company will stop doing that. They won't censor conservative opinions and thoughts about immigration and gender. And if you follow me on Facebook, in theory, you'll start to see my posts, okay, that you signed up to see if you follow my page, Conservative Cat, if you follow the City's 92.9 page. What a novel concept. Like, wow, you're not going to throttle my page to people who actually want to see my content. If I post something about immigration or if I post something about gender, you're not going to throttle it and keep it out of people's feeds. What a novel concept. So wild. You're actually going to let people see the posts that they sign up to see. And that's what we're talking about here. So, like, don't let these people fool you. I can't stress enough, if true, we'll see if they actually do this and if this new commitment to free speech is actually real, and if they're going to allow, the mainstream opinions, actual mainstream opinions, that these, progressive losers don't like, if they're going to allow those opinions to flourish, we'll have to see. I don't know if it's true or not. And this is truly what I think this is all about, stroking the ego of Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump's, his number one flaw is his ego. Okay. And MAGA, he wants to stroke the ego of the MAGA Republicans in the House and the Senate. He wants to stroke the ego of Trump and conservatives. So that way they don't do anything about social media regulations like Section 230. And it's easy for Mark Zuckerberg to make all of these claims in a little video and to hire Dana White as a Meta board member. It's so easy for him to do all of that. Then, and it's even easier for a meta engineer, a leftist meta engineer, to press a button that censors posts. Okay, so knowing that the company won't care or won't notice and nobody's going to snitch. So is he actually going to enforce these new changes or these major changes on the meta engineers who are in charge of censoring posts? Are they actually going to police it and make sure that nobody's out there censoring? I don't know. We'll have to see in a few months, I guess. But I'd like to give Zuck the benefit of the doubt, but nah. I've been working on social media and been doing this a very long time, since the pandemic, actually 2020. And I know that this is really what this is all about, is for Zuckerberg to stroke the egos of people. Trump loves Dana White. He loves the UFC, and this is a way to stroke his ego and to get his eyeballs off him. So while Mark Zuckerberg hinted that he expected Trump to win, that outcome has now become a reality for Mark Zuckerberg, and now he's playing his pieces on the chessboard. Okay, and I mean, I guess I can say better late than never, but really what needs to happen is there needs to be, I'd say, a year or two, maybe not the entire 8 years that the left had on these, actually forever. The left has had dominance over these platforms for multiple years. I would say, in order to even scales here, you would have to promote conservative content over leftist content. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. What do you think? Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Mark Zuckerberg here. He's, of course, coming out now, and it's like so painfully obvious. And then you've got conservatives like celebrating and like saying, we're so back. Are we? Because we're still screwed over. And I'm at a point, and I don't know if this is my emotion getting the best of me, but I'm at a point where you censored people for 8+ years. Okay. Actually, the entirety of the existence of Twitter, the existence of Facebook, it's always been favorable to the left, and left mainstream, or so-called mainstream thought, legacy media. Okay, it's always been favorable to them. So who's been having to deal with the loss of income? Okay, because that's what we're talking about here. It's people, conservative content creators, like myself, there's a loss of income when your posts are throttled. There's a loss of, I mean, how do you measure that? You throttled somebody's post, a post that could have brought them more viewers, aka more clicks, aka more money. Okay, this is your livelihood. There's conservative content creators and the leftist content creators. Nobody would ever watch their programs, but it's the only thing that you can watch. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can't really put a number on it, how much money was lost by each individual conservative content creator. I remember I had thousands upon thousands. I've had to make like 3 new TikToks. I've had to make a new Facebook. I've had to make a new Twitter because I've been booted and I've been jailed, Facebook jailed. And every time that happens, I lose all of my followers and all of my my audience. And like you can't put a number on it, how detrimental that is to somebody's entrepreneurship, and how many is and how you can't put a number on it. So here's what I think, and I know that people are going to say, oh, Kat, just take the win, and I'm not there. I'm really not there, and maybe it's my emotion getting the best of me, but I was here living it from 2020 on social media, and having my videos taken down, having my accounts shut down, and it still hurts me to this day, and it pisses me off that they think that they can just reconcile this all of a sudden and then, oh, it's okay. No. Here's what needs to happen, and I'm not for censorship, but you really have to even the scales. Okay, throttle the leftist content. They've had their turn. Throttle the leftist content and put it down to the bottom for a couple of years, and then talk to me about changing it and making it more free, because for years now you've limited the speech of somebody. And I don't know, maybe that's wrong of me. Maybe it's like seeking revenge, but that's where I'm at. I think that there needs to be regulation on these social media companies, so that way this never happens again. Because what's going to happen in 2028 if the Democrats gain control? I'll tell you what'll happen. He'll change his policies again, and he'll put his policies back in place that throttled conservative content and censored people for having opinions. That's exactly what will happen. This guy just goes with the wind. Whatever is best for Meta. And I'll tell you what's best for Meta right now is kissing Donald Trump's butt with putting his buddy on the board and coming out with a 5-minute video that says that he's going to implement all of these changes. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. And shame on conservatives who are out there saying, oh, better late than never. No. What needs to happen is regulation of these platforms, and we need to ensure that they are held to the fullest extent of the law and craft the law to where they will be punished if they censor people like that ever again. Now, if that's crafted in the law, then you don't need to balance the scales, because then the scales will be forever balanced. But if you're going to, change policy, why don't you just right the wrongs that you've done? You've admitted that you made mistakes. You've admitted that you censored people. Right the wrongs. Censor the leftists then. Do it. You won't. And it's because you're a raging leftist and you're just doing what's best for Meta, and you're not actually you don't actually care about free speech, because if you actually cared about free speech, you'd be promoting conservative content and throttling the leftist content and just switching it and giving us a turn at the top for a little while. So go ahead, smash that like button. Liberate good people and good things will happen. Yeah, free the people from Facebook jail, free the conservatives from the prisons of speech containment, and you'll see some really cool things happen in our culture. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit salty about all of this. I actually don't think that he's genuine. I think that this is really just a move to try to save Meta from regulation, deeply needed regulation of these companies to ensure that this never happens again, where they're able to, without going to prison, throttle, censor, users on this platform. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. You guys can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Now it's not so bad, but in 2020, you probably wouldn't have been able to find my channels because I was constantly getting kicked off. I was constantly having YouTube remove my videos. And, I'm a bit salty about that. So, yes, I think that we need to balance the scales here a little bit. And I would say, yeah, throttle the leftist content, censor the leftist content. Okay, if you're really serious about reconciling your mistakes there, Zuck, then do that. Or, and here's what I would prefer: we regulate these social media companies and we ensure that if you dare censor Americans ever again on these platforms, you will be held to the fullest extent of the law. That's what I want to happen. And here is what he's doing with these videos, with putting Dana White on the Meta board. What he is doing is he's stroking the ego of Donald Trump. He's stroking the ego of MAGA Republicans. And we, being the saps that we are, we're going to take this and we're going to be like, oh, yay, better late than never. No. We still need to regulate these social media companies. We need to take a look at Section 230. And it's easy for Trump to make for Zuckerberg to make all of these claims that he's going to fix the platform. But it's even easier for a single Meta engineer to press a button and censor Americans again. And what we need to do is ensure that will never happen and hold these people to the fullest extent of the law, these engineers, these Meta employees, if they decide to do that ever again. Because what's going to happen in 2028, folks? Here's what's going to happen in 2028. If we don't regulate these platforms now, here's what will happen. In 2028, the Democrats could possibly gain power again, and they're going to go right back to the legacy media fact checkers. They're going to go right back to censoring conservatives because that's what's going to be best for Meta. Okay, that's what Mark Zuckerberg is doing here. He's doing what's best for Meta. So like I said, he appointed Dana White to the Meta board. According to Semaphore, in a video announcing the new policy, which relaxes restrictions on free speech, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg said the fact-checking system had reached a point where it just had too many mistakes and too much censorship. Look, it was always a mistake to give this fact-checking system over to legacy media, which has been proven to be left-leaning time and time again. It wasn't that it had reached a point. It reached a point back in 2020 when people were thrown off for saying things like, oh, I don't know, ivermectin is an antiviral that's effective against the spread of COVID-19 and it's effective treatment. Okay, so it had reached its point back in 2020 there, Zuck. 2025, now you're changing it. I'll tell you why you're changing it. You want Donald Trump to turn his nose away, and you want the Republicans to turn their nose away from looking and finding out more information about what you're doing over there at Facebook. And you're trying to avoid regulation. And I think that that's just completely bogus. He also noted that recent elections feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing free speech. It doesn't matter if Hitler's elected. It doesn't matter if Gandhi is elected. It doesn't matter. Free speech is free speech. We should always be prioritizing free speech here in America because it's America. So there is no cultural tipping point. It doesn't matter who is getting elected, who's not getting elected. This statement right here is so bonkers. It goes, I feel like, there's a cultural tipping point towards, once again, prioritizing speech. What? Just because the culture's tipping that way doesn't mean that you shouldn't prioritize speech on your free speech platform or on a platform. So the move comes as Meta, the move to put Dana White on the Meta board. The move comes as Meta tries to build ties with the incoming Trump administration. The organization this week appointed Dana White CEO of the Ultimate Fighting Championship and a staunch Trump ally to its board. Like I said, Dana White, not really conservative when you look at the ideology here. Okay, when you look at his ideology, I wouldn't say that he's a raging leftist, but I think that he more closely aligns with Joe Rogan's politics, and it's different. Joe Rogan isn't a conservative. Trump isn't even really a conservative. Our ally, our support isn't to Trump, it's to a way of life, a conservative way of life that we believe is more beneficial to society than that of a progressive or so-called progressive ideology or whatever, this woke ideology that the leftists have. We don't believe in chopping kids up, the 9-month abortions, all of that. And to be honest with you, I don't think Dana White really cares about any of that. I think that he's just a free speech advocate, and he cares about free speech and people saying what they want. And that's great. And the fact that he's a Trump ally is also awesome. But the fact that he is on the board now, it doesn't mean that conservative content is going to flourish on these platforms. Zuckerberg may or may not have come around to the idea that Meta was never intended to be the arbiter of truth, but at least he's doing what's best for the company. Like I said, this is him doing what's best for the company. I don't think that he really came around to this idea that, hey, Meta is actually censoring people. We don't like that, and we were never meant to be the arbiters of truth. Let's try to correct our mistakes. I don't think that's really what he means, okay? I think what really is going on is he's trying to do what's best for the company. And what's best for the company is to kiss Trump's butt so that way they can avoid regulation. Like I said, not only have they proven they wish to have a good relationship with the Trump administration, but they've made changes similar to the ones Elon Musk has had. So they want to have a good relationship with the Trump administration, and they're trying to kiss butt by this Dana White move. They're also trying to stroke the ego of Elon Musk as well by changing their platform to reflect the changes that Elon Musk made on the X platform. I don't know what Zuckerberg is going to do in 2028, but I could imagine what he'll do in 2028 if the Democrats win. He's going to go right back to the old policies because that's what will be in the best interest of Meta. He's the CEO of Meta. His job is to serve the company in the interest of the company. He doesn't care about you, okay? And I don't think that, White being on the board, Dana White is going to do much. Same with Anheuser-Busch. They partnered, the UFC partnered with Anheuser-Busch after the whole Bud Light controversy with Dylan Mulvaney back in 2023. And this is their way of clawing back by partnering with the UFC because a lot of conservatives happen to watch the UFC. Doesn't mean that Dana White is a conservative, doesn't mean that Joe Rogan's a conservative. These people are actually, if I had to put a finger on it, I'd say that they're more like libertarians, Dana White and Joe Rogan. But like I said, Dana White is always there to save the day when the woke corporations get themselves into a pickle. Clearly, he did it with Bud Light. He also did it because they're still friends with these people. Libertarians tend to be best buddies with liberals. I mean, that's just the way it is because they play both sides. Not that I'm totally against libertarians, but I mean, you got one foot in one puddle, and then you got the other foot in a different puddle. Just put both feet in. I mean, go both feet in. That's what we're talking about here. Mark Zuckerberg is a buddy of Dana White, I bet, and he offered Dana White a job on the Meta board. That doesn't mean that conservative content will reign supreme or will be promoted on Meta. It just means that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to stroke the ego of Donald Trump enough to avoid regulation. So I've got to take a quick break. But when we come back, who else is jumping on this bandwagon of, oh, we were wrong. We were so wrong. And now we're going to try to fix our mistakes. McDonald's, they are ditching their diversity goals because I guess they finally realized how racist and illegal they actually are. But it took a Supreme Court ruling to say, hey, we probably shouldn't do this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion quota thing. We shouldn't hire based on insignificant birth rates or what you prefer in the bedroom. Yeah, I guess it took like a Supreme Court ruling back in 2023, and 2 years later, they're finally rolling back their diversity, equity, inclusion programs and their quotas. Man, I mean, this is just it. They're trying to avoid regulation. They're trying to avoid punishment. These people, Mark Zuckerberg and McDonald's, these companies that are now rolling back their DEI quotas, they don't want to get in trouble for doing that. So they're rolling it all back. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. So us being the, good little conservatives that we are, and, we've got such big hearts as conservatives, we're just going to let this all go. I know it. I see the writing on the wall, and it angers me, because it's like this. There needs to be wrongs that are righted. And call me crazy if you want, but we should be promoting conservative content over leftist content. Mark Zuckerberg should be coming out and saying, you know what? We censored conservatives. That wasn't right. I'm going to right the wrong, and I'm going to censor leftists now on this social media platform in order to fix our mistakes, because that's truly fixing your mistake. Because like I said, you can't put a number on it. What you've destroyed as far as entrepreneurship, monetary, you've demonetized conservatives on these platforms. They've lost money, they've lost audiences, they've lost viewership. So there is no reconciling that unless you right the wrong by evening the scales and censoring leftists for a little bit. That's what he should be doing. But of course, it's not really about the mistakes. Okay, this is about doing what's best for Meta and avoiding regulation. Like I said, that's not what I want Mark Zuckerberg to come out and censor leftists, although that's the way you right the wrong. What I really would want is Donald Trump and MAGAs and conservatives, MAGA Republicans, and conservatives to not be duped, and to go after these platforms and go after them hard and regulate them, so that way they never do this again. Because I'll tell you what will happen in 2028 if the Democrats win. He's going to go right back to the old policies, because that's what will benefit Meta. Okay, if the Democrats in power are happy, then Meta is happy. If the Republicans in power are happy, then Meta is happy. Okay, and I hope we don't get duped. I really think that we should go in there and take a magnifying glass and look at everything that they've done over the past 5 years. I think it really started around COVID. I would just take the last 5 years, see how they went about censoring Americans and putting them in jail, Facebook jail, and having the users removed from these platforms in some cases. They should be taking a look at how they determined all of that and did all of that, and then they should be placing regulations and jailing these people at these platforms, at Meta. And they should, implement laws and enforce those laws when people go and they censor Americans. Now, it's not law, like, there is law. That's what really bothers me about all of this. Trump could go in there today and probably jail a lot of these people at Meta, and he'd be in the right, because there are laws that say that you cannot censor when you have a platform. Section 230 gives them the ability to operate as a platform and not as a publisher. So publishers like the Washington Post, things like that, they can get sued for things like defamation, and they can get sued for not including like both sides. Platforms, they operate without any liability, but once they start censoring people, you need liability. Okay, they're allowed to operate that way because it's meant to be like a public square platform. So you can't censor, you can't go and you can't act as a publisher. That's literally what they're doing. They're deciding what content to keep on their platform, and that's acting like a publisher. And you get, as a publisher, all kinds of liability under the law. You could be sued for things like defamation. Like, that's not at all what platforms have to deal with at all. So Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have to deal with any of that legal liability because he's a platform. Meta is a platform, not a publisher. So if you get all of the perks, then you need to act like a platform. Otherwise, there needs to be obviously changes to Section 230. We need to start treating them like a publisher then, and they need to be held liable for things like defamation, and I'd hate to see it like that, but if that's what they want to do, then they need to be held liable under the law as a publisher if they want to act like a publisher. So there needs to be obviously changes to these social media companies and these social media platforms. When we come back, we are going to be talking about McDonald's. They're the latest big company to shift away from DEI. Okay, so this follows a Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court decision came out in 2023, which is kind of interesting considering this is 2025. So now all of a sudden they're following the Supreme Court ruling. Yeah, let's just say it's because of the Supreme Court ruling with the affirmative action, right? They said that was unconstitutional to admit people just on the basis of their skin color and not on merit, and that's what the Supreme Court said years ago. And all of a sudden they're citing that as to the reason why they're walking back from their diversity goals and their diversity quotas, because I guess they finally realized, how racist and illegal that actually is. And it took the Supreme Court ruling from 2023, but they, for the last 2 years, have been doing the diversity quota. So what actually changed? Oh, I know. Donald Trump getting elected. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Go ahead, find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Subscribe, comment, share this out with your friends. We got to get this out there. McDonald's has joined the sanity bandwagon, and I guess now they're ditching their diversity goals because they finally realized how racist they are. Diversity quotas and hiring people based on insignificant birth traits or the preferences that they have in the bedroom. I guess they realized how racist, discriminatory, and illegal all of that was. Take a listen. Here we go.
All right, everybody, I got good news for you. We got another one. You know what time it is. We've got a new company flipping their position on DEI, and that company is McDonald's. Now, let me tell you how this happened and what the details are. I've just got to give X a shout out here because I actually reached out to McDonald's on X to their senior marketing director on Friday. You can see here. So Friday, I sent them a detailed message. I'm not going to show the whole thing here, but a detailed message about DEI. I mean, you can read this part, no problem. And that was Friday, so 3 days ago. And today, this statement came out. There's more to this message, but for the sake of your time, we're going to jump ahead past a lot of the corporate word salad and go straight into what they're changing. So let me go and translate this corporate speak for you. First bullet point, we are retiring setting aspirational representation goals. And then it's a bunch of blah, blah, blah corporate speak. Let me translate what that means. McDonald's, like many Fortune 500 companies, they had what they would call targets or goals. In reality, they work like racial quotas, but they say these are certainly not quotas. Don't call them that. This is just a goal for them to hire, say, 50% people of color, whatever it might be, into a certain position. And then wouldn't you know it, they hire just the amount that they put, but it's not a quota. Don't call it a quota. Second bullet point, and always one of my favorites, we are pausing external surveys to focus on the work we are doing internally, aka we are leaving the HRC's Corporate Equality Index social credit scoring system. Keep in mind, this was a company that had a perfect HRC CEI score. And that HRC CEI scoring system is how woke policies get forced into workplaces. So they are, again, the latest company to leave that scoring system. And that is good news. And now bullet point number 3, one of my favorites, they are going to be retiring their supply chain's DEI pledge in favor of a system that relates to business performance. Imagine that, a merit-based system.
All right. So according to AP News, 4 years after launching a push for more diversity in its ranks, McDonald's is ending some of their diversity practices, citing the U.S. Supreme Court decision. Now, I'm going to get to all of that here. The U.S. Supreme Court decision that, of course, outlawed affirmative action in college admissions. This of course, this ruling was 2023. We're in 2025, folks. So what actually, you're citing the Supreme Court decision that outlawed affirmative action? That was so 2003, man. And that's not the reason why you're rolling back on these diversity practices, McDonald's. The reason why is because you're operating illegally by hiring people based on how light their skin is or how dark their skin is. And we have a little something called equality under the law, discriminatory laws. And this is reprehensible that so many American corporations have gotten away with these practices and they don't want to be punished for it. And I'm getting pretty sick and tired of this. I hope that MAGA Republicans and conservatives see this for what this actually is. And we need to ensure that companies and enforce the law here. Companies that did this, that hired not on a merit-based system, but on insignificant birth traits, those people need to be held to the fullest extent of the law, which says that you can't do things like that. You can't hire people based on their skin color. It's discriminatory, and they need to be held to the fullest extent of the law. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cata on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay, much like Meta, McDonald's is doing this now because Donald Trump is been elected president. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Subscribe to the channel right now. This is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to hire somebody based on how light their skin is or how dark their skin is. It's illegal to appoint people based on how what their insignificant birth traits are. Okay, it's called discrimination. Even before Harvard was called out by the highest court of the land, it's painfully obvious how illegal these practices are and were. Back in 2023, okay, before this Supreme Court decision came out, or 2022, before the ruling actually came out, we all know that that is illegal, that you cannot hire based on hire or promote or do anything based on somebody's insignificant birth traits. It's called discrimination. Okay, so it's painfully obvious that what they were doing was actually illegal. And what they're trying to do now, McDonald's, Walmart, John Deere, Harley Davidson, they've all rolled back their DEI initiatives. And they all rolled it back last year, Walmart, John Deere, and Harley Davidson at least. And I think it's because they saw the writing on the wall that Donald Trump was definitely getting in. They rolled it all back last year. Now they're rolling it back. Now McDonald's is rolling it back this year. They're kind of late to the party, but they're just the latest company to shift its tactics. And all of these companies are citing that 2023 ruling. Here's the thing. Last year, 2024, John Deere, Harley Davidson, during this election year, they decided, why didn't they roll it back in 2023 when the ruling came out? I'll tell you why, because it's not about rolling it back. It's not about, hey, now we realize how racist this is. We realize how illegal this is. It's not about that. It's about Donald Trump. It's about MAGA Republicans being in the majority, and they don't want to be punished for these practices that they've implemented, despite it being painfully obvious that these practices were and always have been illegal. Pretty much always have been illegal. So smash that like button. I'm just getting pretty sick of it. So McDonald's said that they're going to pause their external surveys. This is a big one. The Burger Giant didn't elaborate what external surveys are, but we all know what this is. Lowe's, Ford Motor Company, several other companies, they've suspended their participation in what this is. It's called an annual survey by the Human Rights Campaign. And what this basically is, it's a scoring system, and it measures workplace inclusion for LGBTQ employees. Okay, this is what it specifically is, this Human Rights Campaign. They issue this survey, and it's a scoring system for these companies. So they've said that they're no longer going to participate in this survey conducted by the Human Rights Campaign to figure out how many gay people they've got on staff. Okay, so I don't know when really these corporations decided that taking surveys based on their employees, sexual preferences, they are one, disclosing their employees' sexual preferences to the survey, which is just bonkers in and of itself, and it's total bogus. Why is that even a thing? Really? Like, what? Your sexual preferences have nothing to do with your job performance. So I don't know why it's a thing. Why, and I definitely don't understand what that has to do with human rights. Your sexual preferences. This is called the Human Rights Campaign, and they conduct the annual survey. I don't know what it has to do with human rights. So I understand people are going to say, "Oh, it's great that McDonald's is finally doing something about their DEI practices," and I'm sorry. I'm not excited about it. In fact, I would prefer that we go after the people who implemented these policies and jail them, because it's called discrimination, and it's racist, and it's against the law, and it has been for a very long time. And it has always been prior to the 2023 ruling dealing with affirmative action. Now, some other companies, they're doubling down, and honestly, much respect. Like Costco, I've got more respect for Costco, who's doubling down on this, because that at least tells me that you are, like you were doing this because you actually believe in the DEI practices. And the Costco board member here, Jeff Rakes, on X, he said that, DEI is good for business, and eliminating the practices is bad for businesses. And he says that he's going to keep it up. Great. It's illegal, and we're going to should prosecute you for doing illegal practices. But more kudos to that guy who's willing to, come out and stand by his principles than these people who come out and they're like, oh, well, now that Donald Trump is in, I want to kind of avoid prosecution. I don't want to, be held accountable or have consequences to my actions. So I'm just going to, kind of roll this back quietly, as quietly as we can, so I don't get in trouble. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. So do appreciate you tuning in. Yes, we've been talking about McDonald's and their DEI practices. They've rolled them back. I'm going to get to some of that here at the top of the hour, but I also want to talk about Donald Trump and, of course, the Gulf of America. Okay, if I were to summarize Trump's presser yesterday, in 3 words, it would be Gulf of America. Okay, so there's no logical reason as to why the United States of America should not rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And the only reason why we would keep it as the Gulf of Mexico is because we don't want to hurt the Mexican officials' feelings. And I could really care less about the American officials' feelings, because they could care less, and they could give one crap about Americans' feelings, because they continue to they could stop the immigration, this immigration pouring over, the illegal immigration pouring over our border. They could stop it all, but they don't, because they could care less about Americans. So I'm going to get to that here at the top of the hour. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We'll be right back with more news ahead. Okay, folks. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate it. Like I said, the Costco board member, I want to get to him and what he said on X. He says, quote, and I'm just going to throw this in the comment section. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this with your friends, comment. I'll get to your comments here in just a second. But the attacks on DEI aren't just bad for business. So the attacks on DEI, so rolling back DEI practices, aren't just bad for business. This is what the Costco board member, Jeff Rake, said. Okay, they hurt our economy. A diverse workforce drives innovation, expands markets, and fuels growth. I argue differently, but let's focus on building a future where all talent thrives. See, but in a DEI type practice, if you're hiring somebody on their insignificant birth traits, all don't thrive. Only the people with the insignificant birth traits thrive, or whoever you deem to be diverse, they thrive because they're the ones that get the job. Okay, so not all talent, because DEI is not actually inclusive. We know this. DEI is not actually diverse, and it's definitely not equitable. So back in my day, which was literally the other day, right? People earned things based on merit. We had a merit-based system, and woke corporations have taken upon themselves to change the status quo. That used to be merit-based system. You used to get promoted at work because you were there for a long time, you had the experience, and you were damn good at your job. Okay, now they changed the status quo. These woke corporations, and then if you're gay, you're promoted. If you're a darker skin color, you're promoted. And whatever I deem as a diverse trait or an insignificant or as a birth trait that is diverse, then I will promote you. Or even what you prefer in the bedroom, I'm going to promote you based on that. Okay, it's foolish. It should totally be condemned. It should have been condemned prior to the Supreme Court ruling in 2023. And the fact that it took the Supreme Court of the United States case for these companies to finally admit that they're citing. And I really don't think it has anything to do, like I said, with the Supreme Court case. It has everything to do with Donald Trump not coming after them and holding them accountable under the law and having consequences. You broke discrimination laws, okay? That is what because this was 2023. It took McDonald's, you mean to tell me it took McDonald's 2 years after the ruling to implement these rollbacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion practices? Give me a break. So the fact that, let's just play with this or play along for a little while. Here with these companies, and let's pretend for a second that it was actually because of the Supreme Court ruling in 2023 that went after affirmative action at colleges, in colleges. Okay, let's just play along for a second. It took you that long until 2023 to finally admit that this is racist and that this is illegal. There is a lack of logic. Logically, it makes no sense to hire people based on their preferences in the bedroom and the way they look. Logically, that is immoral. Common sense tells you that that is immoral. And this speaks volume to the ignorance. And really, I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's just malice. And they intentionally kept this policy because they got kickbacks from the Biden administration. But now, what they're going to do is do what's best for the company. Do what's best for the company, much like Mark Zuckerberg. They're going to do what's best for Meta. He's the CEO. That's his job. He's going to do what's best for Meta, and he's going to kiss Donald Trump's butt so that way they don't see regulations. McDonald's is going to be very public about their rollbacks here on the diversity, equity, and inclusion practices to avoid any kind of punishment under the law. Okay, so we're going to get to Donald Trump in the Gulf of Mexico as well. Like I said, I think that the Canada becoming the 51st state, I think that the Panama Canal thing, it's all kind of negotiating tactics. But there are legitimate reasons to make Canada the 51st state, and there are legitimate reasons to take back the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1, and he shouldn't have done that. And, the Panama will sit there and say, oh, well, we, charge Americans to use the Panama Canal, and we charge them out the butt to use it. But don't worry, we put that money right back into the infrastructure of the Panama Canal, and we improved the Panama Canal. So don't worry about all of that. Panama is investing into the infrastructure, so therefore it's ours. The Panama Canal, we're investing in the infrastructure. No. You are charging Americans more money to do business and to do things on the Panama Canal. And to use the Panama Canal more than anybody else. You're charging us way more in fees and everything like that. You're charging us more in order to build the infrastructure. So therefore, the United States is investing in the infrastructure there. You're taking the money from the United States and from Americans to invest in the infrastructure there. So therefore, it is ours because we are maintaining that Panama Canal with our dollars with the fees that they're charging. Okay, so we gave it away. Jimmy Carter should have never given it away. It should be ours. And we're the ones investing in the infrastructure and maintaining the Panama Canal. So yes, it makes 100% sense It's common sense that the Panama Canal should be ours. Also, Canada, kind of not really a country when you look at the way it's run under Justin Trudeau. Okay. They're not a serious country. They're subsidizing all of their crap and they're dumping it into the United States, and they're violating trade agreements. If you're violating trade agreements with the United States and you're actively not patrolling your own border and we're providing all of the defense for your country, you're pretty much the 51st state. Okay, anyway, so Gulf of Mexico, we own half of the water, over half of the waters for the Gulf of Mexico, so it makes sense why we would call it the Gulf of America. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in. I so do appreciate you being here. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about McDonald's, and I'll wrap up the story. I pretty much finished it on the stream, but you guys can go to YouTube, Rumble, and subscribe. But the Supreme Court decision in 2023, and it outlawed affirmative action in college admissions. You can't admit students based on insignificant birth traits like the color of their skin, okay, or their hair color or their sexual preferences. And that's what the 2023 Supreme Court ruling said. And they're citing these companies, okay? But even before Harvard was called out by the highest court of the land, it's painfully obvious how illegal these DEI practices are and were and always have been under discrimination laws. There's laws. I don't have the statute right in front of me, but there's a federal statute that talks directly to this. You can't hire people based on the color of their skin. Okay, it has to be a merit-based system. Not how light somebody's skin is, not how dark somebody's skin is, what they prefer in the bedroom, okay? There's something called equality under the law, and this is reprehensible that so many American corporations have gotten away with these practices. And really what this is all about is avoiding consequences under the law. That's what McDonald's is doing. They're just the latest company. And now in 2024, during the presidential campaign, it shouldn't shock you to find out that Walmart, John Deere, Harley-Davidson, they rolled back their DEI policies last year. Now you've got McDonald's doing it this year. Let me remind you, the Supreme Court ruling that they're citing is the reason why they're rolling back all of these DEI practices. It was in 2023. So 2024, why'd you roll it back in 2024? You could have done it right away after. Let's play along for a second. Like you had no clue that this is illegal. Although when I say that you're not hiring based on merit and you're hiring on insignificant birth traits, when I say that, everybody knows that it's illegal and everybody knows that it's immoral. But they didn't do it in 2023. They waited until 2024 when the writing was on the wall that Donald Trump was going to get in. That's why John Deere, Harley-Davidson, Walmart, they rolled this back. They're going to do what's best for their company, much like Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook and Meta. What he's going to do is what's best for his company. He doesn't want to see regulation, does not want to deal with regulation. So he's going to kiss Trump's butt. Just like McDonald's here, they're going to try to make a big scene out of rolling back their DEI policies. You should have never done it in the first place. It's illegal. What Facebook did, censoring Americans, it's illegal. Look up Section 230, okay? So McDonald's said that they're going to pause their external surveys. I didn't even know really that this was a thing. I guess Lowe's, Ford Motor Company, they also participate in this. It's the Human Rights Campaign. And what they do, they measure workplace inclusion for LGBTQ employees specifically. So they ask, your employees' sexual preferences, and they, count how many people you have on your employee roster there. How many people are gay? I don't even know why this is a thing, and I don't understand why the Human Rights Campaign is doing this. Like, what you do in the bedroom has nothing to do with your human rights. So I mean, I guess I can say it's good that McDonald's is finally doing something here about their DEI practices, but really what needs to be done is people need to be held to the fullest extent of the law. People broke discrimination laws, and they need to be held accountable. So Costco, and I actually have a little bit more respect for Costco here because the Costco board member is just doubling down on the DEI policies. Here's what he says. Attack on DEI is bad for business and it hurts our economy. So rolling back these DEI practices is bad. That's what this Costco board member, Jeff Rakes, is saying. And he says a diverse workforce drives innovation, expands markets, and fuels growth. Let's focus on building a future where all talent thrives. Here's the thing about DEI, though. Not all talent will thrive. Only those who have insignificant birth rates that you deem acceptable or diverse or whatever, those people will thrive. And everybody else who don't, who might not have the preferred birth trait, they're going to suffer. So it should always be merit-based. Back in my day, which wasn't that long ago, everything was merit-based. These woke corporations have taken upon themselves to change the status quo, to get rid of the merit-based system and install a system that focuses on your skin color and your preferences in the bedroom. And that's foolish. It should be totally condemned. It's illegal. These people should be held to the fullest extent of the law. There should be consequences for doing this, much like Meta censoring people and demonetizing conservatives, throttling their content. You should be held accountable under the law, or at least be regulated, so that way we know that this will never happen again come 2028 when the Democrats might win. Mark Zuckerberg very well could just change his policies right back. So we need regulation. And this just speaks volumes, okay? If they're saying that it's the Supreme Court case with the affirmative action, okay, these companies, and that's the reason why they're rolling back their DEI practices. Okay, let's play with that for a second, okay? Let's play along. What? It took you that to finally admit that these policies lack any kind of logic or common sense or morality, okay? It took that. It's always been immoral to not be on a merit-based system. You changed it way back when, I'd say in 2020. You started to change this to a diversity, equity, inclusion system. All right, so I want to get to Donald Trump's presser here, and if I had to sum up his presser in a few words, I would say Gulf of America. So this is really exciting. Donald Trump, we're so back. We are so back. He announced his plans to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Okay, so let me be clear. I've talked about this in the past where, Canada becoming the 51st state, that would actually make a lot of sense. Now, I think that Canada and the talks there, I think it's really all about negotiating. It's a negotiating tactic. Trump freaked out Trudeau by, threatening these tariffs. And rightfully so, because Canada is really screwing over the United States. We're providing all of their defense, their border security, everything. And they're screwing us over in our trade agreement by dumping cheap products here. And Americans can't compete with those cheap products. And it's government subsidized products, okay? So they can price it. They can lower, or they can do the cheaper price every single time because we don't have government subsidized crap here in America. Like, unlike what's going on in Canada, they can just tax the Canadians. And with the lumber industry, I've talked about this before, they can tax the Canadians, and they'll give all the money to the government lumber industry, and then the government lumber industry outprices the American lumber industry, because the American lumber industry has to operate like, a normal company, a normal private sector company, and they can't compete with the government subsidized crap. So Canada becoming a 51st state, hell yeah. I think that's awesome. Gulf of Mexico becoming Gulf of America makes sense. There's no logical reason why we wouldn't name it the Gulf of America. And the only reason why we would be naming it the Gulf of Mexico is because we want to make the Mexican officials feel good. And that's pretty pathetic because the Mexican officials, i.e. the border crisis, the illegal immigration that has just poured over the border, and the Mexican officials have done nothing about it. In fact, they probably promoted it. They could give one crap about you, the American, about the Laken Rileys of the world, about the Emma Schaefers of the world. Emma Schaefer, this girl who was stabbed by the suspect Gabriel Calixto, who was here illegally. and had priors, actually. So he was here illegally and not only stabbed this girl, but kidnapped a different girl. So they could give one hoot about Americans and about the Laken Rileys and the Emma Schaefers of the world, okay? These Mexican officials, they just let the criminals hop right over the border. So Trump announced plans that he is going to name the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And I don't know what's taken people so long to do this, or like why a president of the United States hasn't done this yet. We're finally seeing it with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of.
Okay, so according to Fox 5, here's what Donald Trump said. Pretty soon we're going to change because we do most of the work there. It's ours. So we use the Gulf of Mexico more than anybody else. So we're going to be changing it, the name, to the Gulf of America, sort of the opposite of Joe Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing it from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring to it. Beautiful ring, totally great ring. The Gulf of America. It is a beautiful name and it is appropriate. The United States has tiptoed around countries' feelings for a long, long time. And in return, we have just gotten taken advantage of with Canada, right? I mean, we provide them their defense. We provide them border security. And how do they repay us? They dump their government subsidized crap and they've closed up all of our, that action of dumping their government subsidized crap, their lumber here. Our American lumber industry is completely decimated, and that affects you, the homeowner. You wonder why housing prices suck. Okay, it's because our American lumber industry can't compete with Canada. It's about time we had a leader who could care less about countries' feelings, and he's going to demand respect. And he's going to show that these people in these countries, Panama, the Panamanian president, I talked about him last month, about how he came out and he was like, oh, the Panama Canal, we invest in the infrastructure and the maintenance of the Panama Canal. Give me a break. You have purposefully risen the costs or risen the fees, and you forced Americans who use the Panama Canal more than anybody else, and you forced Americans to pay these outrageous fees, and then you take those fees in turn and you invest in the infrastructure and the maintenance of the Panama Canal. It's not Panama doing it. You're stealing and you're robbing from the United States in order to invest in that maintenance and infrastructure. So it does not make a whole lot of sense to name it after Mexico. As the United States, we have jurisdiction over half of the waters there. The Gulf of Mexico, we have jurisdiction over half of it. So Mexico can barely even run its own country, and there's no reason this section of water really should be named after them. So we are so back. He also confirmed that he would not rule out military force take control of Greenland and the Panama Canal. Greenland, there's this man in a MAGA hat. And actually, Donald Trump retweeted this video, he put it out on Truth Social. But he's wearing a MAGA hat, and he encourages Donald Trump to buy the territory Greenland and to get the territory of Greenland and use possibly military force to take control of Greenland. Greenland is not an actual country, okay? It's like a Danish territory. I'm going to play this clip here on the other side. But you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate it. We are going to be coming back, and we're going to be playing this video of this guy. He's from Greenland. He's got a MAGA hat on. The video is shared by Trump on Truth Social. And the guy from Greenland is telling Donald Trump to buy the territory. The video was shared by Trump, and he says, I'm hearing the people of Greenland. This is what Donald Trump posted to Truth Social. I'm hearing that the people of Greenland are MAGA. My son Donald Trump Jr. and various other representatives, I think Charlie Kirk went down there as well, are traveling there to visit some of the magnificent areas and sites. Greenland is an incredible place, and the people will benefit tremendously if they become a part of our nation. And he says that we need Greenland. Okay, that's what Donald Trump says. So I'm going to be playing this guy actually in this MAGA hat, which is actually an incredible video. I think it's you guys are going to get a kick out of it. But like I said, with the Panama Canal and Canada, we've been screwed over. We've been taken advantage of, and for too long, we've been concerned about the people's feelings. About it is essentially ours, okay? Greenland, or it is essentially at least the Panama Canal in Canada. Now, Greenland. This is really interesting. I don't know exactly why Greenland would be important for us. Now, I hear that they're really rich in minerals, and this could benefit America as far as the energy and the production of energy here. They're rich in minerals, like this guy actually indicates in the video. But here's what Donald Trump said. He said, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. He says, I'm not going to commit to that, meaning military being used to take control of Greenland or the Panama Canal. He said he wouldn't rule out the use of the military. It might be that you'll have to do something with the military. The Panama Canal is vital to our country, and we need Greenland for national security purposes. Okay, so I mean, the year is getting off to a great start. Greenland will likely benefit from the United States taking control over it. The Panama Canal, it's essentially ours. We should have never given it up. Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1, and that was a poor decision. Jimmy Carter, I mean, come on. And people were like saying, he had such a legacy. He was the worst president ever. We're so torn up. We should come together as a country over the death of Jimmy Carter, I think is something that I heard on legacy media. And I just rolled my eyes. I was like, you got to be kidding me with all of this. I was like, Jimmy Carter was the worst president ever. Not only, there's so many reasons, but a big reason why he sucked is because he gave away the Panama Canal for $1. And he shouldn't have done that because it's vital to our country and we're the people who use it. The Gulf of Mexico, like I said, we're the ones who use it. We control or have jurisdiction over half of the waters there. So, yeah. No, it's ours, and I can't wait to play this video when we come back. Plus, I'm also going to be getting to the Laken Riley bill that required ICE to detain illegal alien criminals, so people who committed crimes outside of entering the country illegally. This would have required ICE to detain them. And 159 Democrats voted against this Laken Riley bill. I heard that the population of Greenland is 50,000. I'd have to double check on that, but there's not a ton of people. It's not even really a country. It's like a territory, and the Danish kind of control it. And this guy in this video is going to tell you that they don't like the Danish controlling the country there, and they would probably very much benefit the people who live there. They would probably very much benefit from the United States taking it over. The president-elect has vowed to protect and cherish Greenland when it becomes a part of the United States. So I'm so excited. We are so back. We are finally getting what we deserve here as America. We provide all of the defense, okay? And we are shafted time and time again by all of these countries. And I don't know about you, but it feels good to be winning. Gulf of America. Love it. Like I said, the Laken Riley bill, it's called the Laken Riley Act. It passed with 264 votes, and 159 all Democrats dissented. And the lawmakers gave floor speeches to voice support of or opposition of to the law. The 159 no's came from all Democrats, and this comes at the tail end of Joe Biden's term. And we have seen record illegal immigration and many, many stories highlighting the crimes that illegal immigrants commit against Americans. Okay. And we've seen it in the news, Laken Riley. This one is underreported. The Emma Schaefer story where she was stabbed by an illegal immigrant and he's believed to have fled to Mexico. He was actually pictured with Dick Durbin at a campaign event. And that's been underreported, but there's so many receipts that we have that prove that illegal immigrants who commit crimes against Americans, people don't like that. And this bill should have passed with no dissent. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., Monday through Friday. It's a daily show. We are going to get to the Laken Riley Act. It amends the Immigration and Nationality Act to require the Secretary of Homeland Security to take into custody aliens who have been charged in the United States with theft, murder, so many other crimes. But guess what, folks? 159 Democrats voted against this. 159 Democrats voted against this. It's sanity being restored, okay, in government. The House passed the Laken Riley bill, and it would require ICE to detain illegal immigrant criminals. So outside of the criminal act of you entering the country illegally, if you commit crimes on top of that while you're here illegally, then ICE has to detain you. That's what this bill said. And yeah, the Democrats voted against it, which is shocking. So before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about this fella who was shared by Donald Trump on Truth Social. He's a resident of Greenland. The population there, very, very small. They would definitely benefit if they became a part of the United States. When they become a part of the United States, the president-elect has vowed to protect and cherish the people of Greenland. And the people of Greenland actually love Donald Trump. They don't want to be a part of the Danish government anymore. And they want to be a part of the United States. Like this guy, take a listen.
So, like, if you could tell Trump anything, what would it be?
Buy us.
Buy Greenland?
Buy Greenland.
Why do you want Trump to buy Greenland?
Because we don't want to be colonized by Danish government anymore. We get ripped every year about our minerals from Greenland. We are the richest nation in the world, and we don't get to use it. Denmark's using us too much.
Do you like America?
I love America, but people are too fat over there.
I don't know what he said there at the end. I think he said people are too friendly over there. I don't know what he exactly said. But in Greenland, they like Donald Trump. They want Donald Trump to buy Greenland. That's what he said. And Donald Trump was asked in the presser about using the military to gain access or gain control of Greenland and the Panama Canal. I've talked about the Panama Canal. It's ours. They have been screwing us over, the Panamanians or the Panamanian president, by charging us out the butt for using the Panama Canal. And he's been overcharging us and screwing us over. And he goes, oh, well, all of those fees go back into the infrastructure and maintenance of the Panama Canal. And he goes, Panama is the one who maintains the Panama Canal. No. You can't say that when you've been overcharging Americans to use the Panama Canal or the United States to use the Panama Canal. And you've been overcharging. And then you use those fees to then in turn maintain the Panama Canal. Then de facto, the United States is maintaining the Panama Canal. So therefore, the United States should have control of the Panama Canal, or it should be a part of the United States officially. So much like the Panama Canal, it would be beneficial if we had Greenland for national security purposes. That's what Donald Trump says. I know nothing about Greenland. I really don't. So he says that it's rich in minerals. That could be good for us, the domestic energy. I don't know. Minerals, is it lithium? Is it for, electric batteries? I don't know. But here's what Donald Trump said when he was asked about using the military. He said, I'm not going to commit to that. When he is asked about the use of the military, he said, it might have to be it might be that you'll have to do something with the military. The Panama Canal is vital to our country, Greenland, for national security purposes. Very, very exciting. So this is already getting off to a great start. He isn't even president yet, folks. So it's getting off to a great start. The people of Greenland definitely, like I said, are going to benefit from this. He said that he doesn't like the control. This Greenland resident doesn't like being under the control of the Danish. And I think we can confidently say that it is time to make America great again, and it is time that we are not taken advantage of. And I'm excited. I'm excited. We are winning. Okay, the House, they passed the Laken Riley bill. I want to get to this. That's a bill that would require ICE to detain illegal immigrants who are also criminals. So they're already criminals when they come to the country illegally and don't go through the legal port of entry. They're already criminals, but when they commit crimes on top of that, then they have to be detained by ICE automatically. That's what the bill pretty much says. I'm summarizing. But guess what? 159 Democrats voted against this. This is sanity. Okay, this bill is just common sense sanity, and you had 159 Democrats voting against it. Take a listen.
The House has just passed the Laken Riley Act. This was a bill, of course, that was named after the nursing student who was killed by an illegal immigrant while jogging on a trail at the University of Georgia's campus. Let's get to Chad Pergram. He's got the very latest on that for us live from the Hill. Hi, Chad.
Sandra, good afternoon. Well, this is the first legislative action by the Republican House of Representatives. They just passed the Laken Riley Act, as you alluded to. The vote on the House floor, 264 to 159. There were 48 Democrats who voted yes. When they passed this bill in March of last year, there were 37 Democratic yeas, so this goes up a little bit. This bill would mandate detention for illegal immigrants arrested for minor crimes. We do expect this to go to the Senate. There's bipartisan support for this in the Senate. John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, he has signed on to this bill as well. In the past hour or so, we've learned that Gary Peters, the Democratic senator from Michigan, who faces a challenging reelection bid in 2026, he has also signed on this bill. Now, Republicans, they promised that they would crack down on the border. That was one of their big campaign promises last fall. And they're really trying to dare Democrats here to see if they learn their lesson from 2024. John Thune, the new Senate Majority Leader, he has said that he might have a test vote on this on Friday.
Okay, so it did pass, this bill. It's the Laken Riley Act, H.R. 29. It amends the Immigration and Nationality 8 Act, and it requires the Secretary of Homeland Security to take into custody aliens that have been charged with, in the United States, with things like theft and other crimes. Okay, other crimes. So no sane person would have a problem with this. John Fetterman, I think, came out and he said that this should not be controversial. No sane person should have an issue with this. These people have already proven that they could care less about federal immigration laws, but these are people who, on top of the crime of already illegally entering the country, whatever, okay, if you don't care about the federal immigration laws, that's fine. But if they come in and they start robbing storefronts, if they start robbing people, if they start killing people, we should detain them, right, and put them into custody. This just proves, these 159 Democrats, they have proven that they could care less about the American people. They aren't in it to benefit the American people. Take a listen here. Here we go.
Many of us in Congress are parents. Imagine your child is with a group of kids grabbing an after-school snack at a 7-Eleven, and one of them chooses to just snitch a little candy bar off the shelf. The shop owner calls the police, and all the kids are arrested for shoplifting. If your child is a DACA recipient, someone who has lived here nearly their entire life, they are now subject to mandatory detention under this bill. Many of us in Congress are parents. Imagine.
Okay, so this bill also, if people commit sex crimes, if illegal immigrants commit sex crimes, it would also deport them. And she focuses in on this one issue, the theft issue, and she gives this scenario. This is Pramila Jayapal. She's a Democrat. And like I said, no sane person would have a problem with this. Yes, we should deport, we should detain, we should put into custody illegal immigrants who commit crimes, whatever those crimes are, whether it's theft or sex crimes. So, like I said, she's proving right here with this statement that she could care less about the American people. The fact that somebody so stupid has gotten elected to public office is totally beyond me. I have no idea how this woman was elected. Clearly, this bill has nothing to do with stealing candy bars, okay, and everything to do with preventing more victims like Laken Riley. If you commit crimes, sex crimes, theft, assault, anything like this, then you have to be detained by ICE and put into custody and then deported. Okay, so Gabriel Calexo, who is out of Springfield, he was here on DACA. So she likes to bring up DACA, right? Because this is a controversial issue. DACA was unconstitutional. It should have never been a thing. And Donald Trump has talked about amnesty for DACA recipients. I'm kind of against that. So, whoa, I'm against something that Trump says. I think that sets a bad precedent, that it's okay to pass unconstitutional policy, like under Barack Obama with the DACA recipients. I understand now that they've been here on DACA, and some of them have been here for so long, and it would be unfair to deport them back to the country that they came from, even though they don't speak the language anymore, and that they're staples in their community. I understand that. But at the same time, we can't set the precedent that, you can just pass unconstitutional policy and grant amnesty to these DACA recipients. Anyway, so Gabriel Calexo was a DACA recipient. He overstayed his his DACA ran out. He was no longer supposed to be in the country, and he was here, and then he committed a crime. He kidnapped a girl. He was arrested for that, served in the Illinois Department of Corrections, and then got that pled down, and then he was detained, but then somehow managed to get out of the DHS custody, and he was able to stab, allegedly, Emma Schaefer. He hasn't been brought to justice. People believe that he fled back to Mexico after the stabbing, but she died. Okay, so what this bill is all about is preventing more victims like Laken Riley and Emma Schaefer of Springfield, okay? She doesn't actually want safer neighborhoods, this woman here, the Pramila Jebel, this Democrat who voted against and voiced opposition on the floor here. She doesn't actually represent her neighborhood. She doesn't want safer communities. They are in the best interest, or they are all about the best interest of the foreign nationals who are committing crimes. Okay, by saying, the candy bar thing, this has nothing to do with candy bars. It should be illegal, that this stupidity is allowed to serve in Congress. Okay, these progressive politicians would be nothing without the most ignorant votes. Okay, clearly, this bill was not about candy bars and DACA recipients stealing candy bars. This was about preventing victims like Laken Riley and Emma Schaefer. Like, be for real. Do people actually believe this nonsense? Do they listen to her and think, oh, yeah, this has everything to do with candy bars and DACA recipients getting deported? This has nothing to do with this. This is illegal immigration. Most likely Donald Trump, when he gets in, he's going to grant amnesty for all the DACA recipients, which I am actually against. But 159 people voted against this, and this proves that the left is going to double down in their fight and slap Americans in the face. And these are they're going to mock the voters into oblivion here. They think that you're stupid. Okay, and I guess that these people keep getting elected because there are ignorant voters out here who listen to this woman get up there and talk about candy bars, and people are like, yeah, this bill actually deals with DACA recipients and candy bars. No, this is violent criminals. A lot of them are violent criminals and illegal immigrants, and it has nothing to do with DACA recipients at all. In fact, Donald Trump is probably going to come in and give amnesty to the DACA recipients. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk, Bloomington Normal. Yes, Trump is mostly right, but all the Democrats are wrong. So 6 a to Central Time, Monday through Friday, exactly. So Like I said, I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump says, specifically this DACA recipient thing, where he's going to probably grant, he's been on tape before where he's been talking about how he's going to look into working with the Democrats and granting the DACA recipients amnesty. My biggest gripe with that, it's not so much that, probably a majority of these DACA recipients are upstanding members of the community. In some cases, they're not, i.e. Gabriel Calixto, who was here on DACA and committed a crime, and he should have been deported automatically after committing a crime such as kidnapping, right? He kidnapped a girl and he got it pled down. I think he only served in the IDOC for a couple of years. He was supposed to serve like 6 years, but I think he only managed to serve like 2 years, and he got it pled down from unlawful restraint of this woman. And he only served a little bit of time, and then he got out, and then he committed yet another crime. And this guy is actually pictured with Dick Durbin, the senator from Illinois. And I mean, come on, you couldn't make this stuff up. This guy was a Democrat through and through, this DACA recipient, and he was out there committing crimes. We need to deport people like that, because Emma Schaefer would have been alive today had this Laken Riley bill been in effect back when he kidnapped this girl. And when you kidnap somebody or sex crimes or anything like that, that's okay. Automatically, ICE is going to detain you, and we're going to deport you if you commit crimes, even like theft, even as small as theft. Yes. But she's completely lying to you. And this woman, Pramila, she's a Democrat that voted for this among the 159 Democrats who voted for this thing. She's going to try to convince you that this was, petty theft like candy bars and DACA kids. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here are violent criminals, assaults, sex crimes, violent theft, and she's going to say that the candy bars, it's nothing to do with candy bars, but she relies on the ignorant voters. Okay, so she's going to get out there, voice her opposition on the floor, and many people did voice their opposition, but the law did ultimately pass. So that's the main thing, is that it did pass with 264 votes after the lawmakers gave their speeches on the floor in their support of this, and then of course in the opposition of this. But all 159 no votes came from Democrats, and I don't know how many stories highlighting the crimes committed against Americans by illegal immigrants we have to hear in order to get a clue. And good thing that this passed. I'm just saying that at least it passed. All right, I do want to shift gears. We are going to be talking a little bit about this woman. I'm going to end the show with this woman who is an OnlyFans gal, and she went into this Five Guys. I call her a pervert. She is a creep, and she is a pervert. And she goes in and she tries to hit on this guy, and this guy actually stands by his Christian foundation. And she basically mocks him for that, but he stood firm. So I'm going to get to that video here in just a second. Smash that like button. Okay, we've got a couple of moments until we come back for the radio friends. If you're new to the program, go ahead and smash the like button, share this out with your friends. I'm live Monday through Friday. It's a daily show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time. So we're going to get to that. Also, another story that I hope that I can get to is Brian Stelter here. He's just so insufferable. This insufferable CNN duo, Brian Stelter and Jim Acosta, they cry over Zuckerberg ending Meta's censorship. So earlier in the show, we talked a lot about Meta's censorship and how they're now rolling back on that censorship. And it just bothers me a lot because I know exactly what this is. It's Mark Zuckerberg trying to avoid regulation and trying to kiss Donald Trump's butt. And I hope that they realize that, the MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump, and that they don't let them get away with censoring Americans for years and years and years. And I would love to see the scales evened here. We should totally throttle leftist content. If we're going to fix your mistakes, right, then fix your mistakes. Come out and throttle the leftist content like you have for years with the conservative content, okay? really what I want to see happen is regulation put in place to where these platforms can never, ever censor Americans again, or they will be held and the law will be enforced. There are laws currently that exist that prohibit them from censoring Americans. Section 230 allows them to operate as a platform and have all the perks of a platform, but in exchange, they have to exist as a platform, not a publisher, and moderate content. If you want to moderate content and if you want to act as a publisher, then you're going to have the liability that comes with being a publisher as well. But like I said, Meta, they are now, of course, changing things up over there, and Brian Stelter is crying about it with Jim Acosta on CNN. We'll get to that video here shortly. Hey, good morning, Sudu. Appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. That's a daily show, Conservative Cat. And I want to get to this woman. And I'm wrapping up the story with this today. And I know that it's not my typical content, but I saw this and I was like, I got to share this because I've been quiet long enough about OnlyFans and my thoughts here on OnlyFans, but she's a predator, this woman. She has been known for sleeping with hundreds of men, actually, no, quite literally hundreds of men, and I guess she's on OnlyFans. And she walks up to this Five Guys employee and starts really preying on him, like the pervert she is. And then she gets turned down after the young man actually calls himself a Christian. You know what? I'm just going to play the clip here for you. You guys can find it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Take a look.
I just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the Five Guys from? The Five Guys. I didn't know if there was like a special room where you can take me out back.
No, I don't think that's happening.
What about after your shift? I mean, I'd want to give you, a good rating.
I'm a Christian man and I'm saving myself marriage.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm doing it right now. I can hand you a menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
Okay, so she's known for sleeping with quite literally hundreds of guys. And she's an OnlyFans like influencer. And this guy's response is amazing. And he proved to be way more mature than she is. And she really, let's call it what it is. This is predatory. She's a pervert. She's creepy. And I don't know why we're accepting this sort of behavior. Is it just because she's a woman? Really, imagine if the roles were reversed and a man goes up to a woman and starts harassing a woman really sexually. This is sexual harassment. I think that the young man here at Five Guys has a case against this woman. This is like sexual harassment. He's at his job. He's in a position where he has to please the customer, and she's putting him in a position of being uncomfortable. So just imagine if the roles were reversed and man started to go up and bother a female employee. So the OnlyFans predator, she says, where do I get Five Guys? Is there a special room you can take me out back? And he says, no, I don't think that's happening. And then the OnlyFans predator, she says, what about after your shift? And he says, I'm a Christian man and I'm waiting until marriage. Good. So the internet should not let this go. We should call her a perv, a creep, and a predator. Okay, because we would say that same thing about a man if the man had approached a female employee like this. Whatever happened to no means no? I mean, she was pressing him and wanting to force him into this. And I don't understand what the point of this video really was. To embarrass him. And the fact that she's bothering people who probably did not consent to be on video, by the way. I mean, he's at his job. Leave him alone. Let him work. Right? And she's harassing him, really. This isn't funny. I don't even really know what the point of this video was, to embarrass the guy and the whole the Five Guys joke. Oh, there's Five Guys. Take me to a room in the back. And it's really immature. It's not even funny, and it doesn't even really make sense. So good on the guy in this video who stood firm, his Christian foundation, his Christian faith. And, we should mock this woman. We should mock her like she mocked him. Really, the feeling I get from this video is that she was mocking him for his Christian faith and him saying that he wanted to wait till marriage. She should be banned from the Five Guys establishment, by the way. Five Guys, ban this OnlyFans creator. And the fact that OnlyFans creators act like this and they get a pass for behaving like this in public just because they're a woman or they're, attractive or a young woman, it just bothers me. And society needs to do better about mocking these OnlyFans creators into oblivion, because this is just not things that we should accept in a society like this. So I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. We are going to come back and probably talk a little bit about Brian Stelter. Let me get to some of your comments. Let's go back to the 70s and 80s style McDonald's. Yeah, I'm for that. The beef tallow. The beef tallow in the French fries. Yes. I want to bring back the old chocolate shakes. Actually, I hear that the snack wrap is coming back. And like the McValue menu is going to be probably coming back. So, I mean, things are getting better under Donald Trump already. The snack wrap's back. The McValue menu is back. Things are really shaping up for America. But yeah, the old McDonald's, the beef tallow, using beef tallow. Yeah. And making America healthy again. I'm all for that. I think that seed oils, yes. Poisoning us, go RFK, make America healthy again. All right, so I am going to come back, talk a little bit about Brian Stelter, Jim Acosta, and how they're crying over Mark Zuckerberg ending meta censorship. And this should tell you all you really need to know. The fact that these people are crying over Mark Zuckerberg not censoring people tells you that these people are tyrants, and that the leftist legacy media and the CNN are all for censorship of Americans. So it's just incredible. Brian Stelter attacking Elon and Zuckerberg for committing to free speech. He says Zuckerberg's announcement is a MAGA makeover and will turn away liberals. No. Here's the thing. It's actually not a MAGA makeover. It's a way of Zuckerberg kissing the butt of Donald Trump, so that way he doesn't. So that way he's not held accountable under the law, Section 230. These platforms shouldn't exist as publishers in moderating content, like they're a publisher. They need to act like a platform if they want to not have liability under the law and have all the perks of being a platform without actually acting like a platform. Okay, so there needs to be regulation. More regulation than there already is against these platforms. According to CNN, anyone who disagrees with them is actually spreading misinformation. We know this. They'll deem it misinformation if they don't agree with it. So they had the nerve to claim that this tech CEO actually favors right-wing content over leftist propaganda, which is just outrageous to me. They said this with a straight face. Brian Stelter, being somebody that was censored on YouTube, being somebody who was booted off YouTube, I had to create multiple accounts, had to create multiple Twitter accounts, multiple Facebook accounts, because I kept getting booted off for stupid little things like a meme about Hunter Biden. And it was an actual photo from the Hunter Biden laptop, okay? And it was a meme about Hunter Biden and how... oh gosh, I think it was with the Chinese spy balloon. I honestly forget what the meme was, but it's that infamous picture of him with the diaper. I think I could pull it up actually. But they censored me because of this photo, and I shared it, and it was like a photo of him in this like diaper. Hunter Biden, if I can find it. I doubt it. See, because it's so censored. I doubt I can even find it. It was so good. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to try to find it. Hunter Biden, but it was pulled off of his laptop. It was an actual photo of him. And I was pulled off of Twitter and Facebook for sharing that. And, you know, I can't believe that you've got the most trusted name in news saying that the tech CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, actually favored right-wing content all of these years. I'd say from 2020 to 2025, but it's really been since the existence of Facebook and Twitter where they've always favored legacy media. So the fact that they said this, Jim Acosta and Brian Stelter, with straight faces, is laughable. It's comical. And Democrats can't stand that we're not being censored anymore. And that's all you really need to know about Democrats. Brian Stelter, Jim Acosta, they can't stand that we're not going to be censored. And they can't, because their ideas, the marketplace of free ideas, their ideas will go to the bottom naturally. So they can't operate in a free speech environment because their views don't hold up to scrutiny. People don't actually like their views. So we're going to get to all of it here on Conservative Cat. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I want to play this clip. This is Jim Acosta, the CNN dynamic duo here. Jim Acosta and Brian Stelter, they're big mad because the tech CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is no longer going to be censoring conservatives. Here we go.
It gets to this broader sense that when people like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg talk about free speech, everybody wants free speech, but it oftentimes seems that these tech CEOs actually are favoring or preferring a certain kind of speech, right? They're favoring their own speech or their own political preferences and not the actual entire user or the community's speech. You know, the changes announced by Meta today are very much a MAGA makeover, a pro-Trump makeover. And that's going to win Meta some conservative users, but it may repel some liberals. That's the same thing we've seen happen on Elon Musk's X. He's turned it into more of a right-wing platform where he's pro-free speech when it's really pro-Musk or pro-Trump speech.
All right, Brian Stelter, thanks as always. And you mentioned those changes over at Meta. That is going to be fascinating to watch moving forward because obviously Facebook and Instagram, places like that, have also been accused of being super spreaders of disinformation, misinformation.
Oh, boy. So it's a bit of a stretch to claim that the tech CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has been favorable to conservative content. Being somebody who's made conservative content since 2020, and has had to make several Facebook accounts, has had to make several YouTube accounts and Twitter accounts because I kept getting booted off and has lost followers and followers and followers. I can tell you that that is a huge stretch to claim that, Brian Stelter, and it's no wonder that your ratings are at historical lows. Brian Stelter is no stranger to spreading misinformation. He projects his insecurities onto the rest of the world, so it's only natural for him to have a problem with Meta's announcement. According to him, the only permissible speech here is speech that he agrees with. That's what this is really all about. And if you ask me, I think that the scales need to be evened here. Maybe there should be some throttling of the leftists for a couple of years. I'd be for that. If Mark Zuckerberg is really about righting the wrongs here, then perhaps we throttle the leftists. Now, naturally, their ideas suck and their views don't hold up to scrutiny. And naturally, I think that they would go to the bottom. That's why Democrats can't stand that we're not going to be censored anymore, because our views will reign supreme because they're good ideas. Okay, but you've got Brian Stelter here. And of course, these people have a problem with the fact that Meta won't censor conservatives anymore, especially because they won't have fact checkers. They won't be the fact checkers. So that's how Meta operated. They used people like CNN. They used the legacy media as the fact checkers, which was just wrong. I think it's against the law. They should have never implemented that whole system to begin with, and it should have always been community notes. Now, there's a shift going on at Meta where they're going to use community notes where everybody in the platform kind of provides additional information with the post, and it's called community notes rather than fact-checking by these arbiters of truth, the legacy media. And they're not going to like this because it's only going to harm the left. Okay, they have never come this far without the tech overlords working in their favor. Okay, the CNNs of the world, the legacy media of the world, these leftists in the media, they've only had their platforms, and they've only gotten this far because of the tech overlords and because of the platform censoring independent media, conservatives, conservative content. So, like I said, I think that it'd be awesome if we could even the scales. Why don't we censor the leftist content for a little bit, or to right the wrongs that you made there, Zuckerberg? Or here's an idea: let's just have the MAGA Republicans regulate the social media platforms. And this is obviously a move to stroke the ego of Donald Trump. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. I love you. So do appreciate you. That's going to be the end of our show. We're going to be back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Bye-bye. Be blessed. I'll talk to you soon.